Do I really want to fail him and get him for round 2 next year, or do I just be like, D? All right. See you in 8th grade there, Tubby.
And whose team is this? Is this your team? Or is this your daddy's team?
Thanks for listening to Dad Mode Podcast. Common sense parenting in a politically correct world. Here's your host, Andy Carlson.
Welcome back to the Dad Mode Podcast, as Nicholson broods like Batman. Common sense parenting in a politically correct world. I'm your host, Andy Carlson, at Andy Carlson Show on the Twitter machine. I'm a father, and I have no idea what I'm doing, but you don't either there, strip club patron. So let's try it and learn something together today. Website is dadmodepod.com. Support us on Amazon, top left corner of Dad Mode. You know the drill. Twitter is at dadmodepod, or just use the hashtag dadmode. With me today, like I said, brooding for some reason that he won't mention on air, Uncle Nick at Nick is on Twitter.
Hey Andy, how's it going?
Now, what is the reason? Why is it brooding?
People don't want to hear about my little reason of being a little bit angry from something that happened last night at a adult entertainment place. We won't go into, people don't want to hear that. Let's get into our topic at hand today,
now,
shall we?
To skirt around the thing. So, what night was last night?
It was a Monday night.
All right. So, think about going to a strip club on Monday night. Maybe that has something to do with it. They're not exactly running out their varsity team.
No, the thing is, there was a varsity girl, but she fucking ignored me and my friend, and we wanted to dance, and she just ignored us and talked and hung out with everyone else. It was just frustrating. I don't know what I don't know. I don't know. It's fine. It's fine. I saved a lot of money at it. Just had a few beers, threw out some ones, and then I left. It's fine.
All right, so that's been the episode. Show's available on iTunes. No, just kidding. Today, trying to smooth segue into public versus private schools. And yeah, because this is going to be an issue of when Mugsy grows up and when other kids come along. Do we want to keep our kids in the public school system? The place that we're living right now, South Metro, has phenomenal elementary, middle, and high schools. But Nick, up in your St. Paul area, that's a lot more hit or miss. And yeah, you just send the kids to De La Salle if you can afford it.
That's so funny you mentioned De La Salle. I was going to bring it up because my cousins went to De La Salle. It's the thing about Minnesota with public and private schools is that compared to the rest of the country, my research I've looked into, our public schools are highly ranked, and there are a lot of fine public schools in the Twin Cities, in Minnesota, in the Midwest in general. I think for other listeners who may be outside of the Midwest, I think it's a really strong choice of taking your kids, if you trust public schools, of inner cities of New York or Boston or LA, versus paying for a good education of private schools. I mean, there's you definitely have to balance out those choices. It's not as fluid as it is here.
Now, I agree with you on the public school thing, because there can be some great public schools and there can also be some terrible private schools. I mean, it's not exactly binary that one's inherently going to be good, other it's going to be bad. Although, I feel like with private schools, since it is paid tuition and some of the schools are very well paid tuition, you can hire a different caliber of teacher, and you got to think in some of those teachers' minds. I'd rather work for a quote-unquote prestigious institution, even if it is an elementary, middle, or high school, as opposed to just working the public system, even though that shouldn't be their main aim and goal. They should just aim to be a good teacher. And you will find good teachers in public, good teachers in private, bad teachers in private, and bad teachers in public as well. But I do feel like in the public versus private school debate, you're mainly paying as a parent for name brand recognition when it comes to the school. Now, in a vacuum, the educations might be damn similar, especially if you're taking a just completely random private school and like one of the better public schools. Lakeville, Apple Valley, Rosemont, Farmington, the area we live are all renowned for their public school system. That's why it's a big draw down there in southern Dakota County. Now, since you're paying for the name brand and you want your kids to get into a good college so then they can get a good job, and all it is a pipeline of name brand recognition, because the college application board are going to look on your application and be like, oh, he went to XYZ private school. That must be good. Yes. And then when have your first job interview, you'd be like, oh, this person graduated from XYZ prestigious college. They must be good. So there you go. Even though we've seen that a public school college education, which you and I had, can be on par with that of a private school education at a fraction of the cost.
Well, I think at like no cost, right? Because I don't think I paid. I mean,
no, I'm talking about college, but
Oh, college. Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, I get what you're saying. Sorry, I thought you were talking about high school and how much you. So.
Well, you went through the Roseville system and you ruined it for everyone because it's basically in the pits now, right?
From what I researched, yeah, I hear it's not as well as it used to be. I mean, there's a lot of diversity in the schools. Not that I consider diversity a bad thing at all, but I think in the end, I think it brings down the schools. If you have poor quality students who aren't cutting the grades, I think it makes the school look a little bad, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And when we were buying our house, like one of the factors that I didn't really think going in would be that huge of one was the ratings of the school system. You go on Zillow, the schools in the suburbs were removed are 7, 8, 9s, which are fantastic. And we initially were even flirting with the idea of staying more inside like the 94, 494, 694 ring. And going to St. Paul, maybe St. Louis Park, something like that. Just kind of staying close to the cities. And you're looking at the public schools, a lot of hit or miss. You see a lot of 3s, a lot of 4s, a couple of 2s. Randomly just drop a deuce in there, and that really kind of dissuaded us because once Mugsy gets to the age where she's going to public school, we prefer that she goes to a good one. And even though, yes, these ratings can be subjective, they're generally fairly accurate.
My biggest pet peeve about all this, is it not being a parent or anything, was, when because my brother is in the cities now. He's living in Woodbury. Woodbury has fine schools, and like they chose where they live because of the fine schools that were in their locale.
Woodbury.
But the kids,
Woodbury is the Minnetonka / Edina of St. Paul. Is that fair?
I will not disagree with that. I will not bring that up with my brother though. But here's the thing. I mean, okay, so these school ratings are, you're viewing them now, and Mugsy is a month old. So are you telling me that when she gets to high school, are those school ratings going to stay the same, or you think eventually? I mean, don't you think there could be an influx of, maybe bad teachers, maybe school fundings are cut, in which the school systems are going to maybe just go down, and then who knows, the inner cities of St. Paul and Minneapolis might get an influx of good teachers and good students and like much more money, and that can make it raise. I mean,
it's a non-zero chance, but I think traditionally, the inner city public school system just has been relatively subpar. Now that could completely change. You got neighborhoods rising and falling, but I feel like the issue with the suburbs is that they'll always maintain a higher public school system level because it's generally going to be a more affluent area, and it's going to be reflected in the slightly higher property taxes, and which gets funneled then into the school system and then sort of gets trickled down. Whereas, with some of the inner city schools, like you said, there could be an influx, could be subsidies, could be just a crop of great teachers in there who are fighting the good fight. I'm not banking on that though.
All right. I don't know. I got to root for the inner city just because I'm from Roseville. I'm not saying Roseville's really inner city, but I mean, I'm from that center part, and I think. Well, I wonder what Roseville is ranked. Remind me to look that up after the show.
Hell, look it
Because
up right now.
because as I said, I think a lot of it, obviously, if you're a kid like myself going through high school, I made it a goal to I stayed out of gangs, I stayed out of trouble, and I worked hard. I had teachers who were there for me, who helped me get and maintain good grades, and I graduated with a 3.7 out of high school, and I was very happy about it. I mean, I made it a positive experience.
Hold on.
Okay.
You getting a 3.7 just illuminates the downfall of Roseville High School.
Illuminates.
Because they just gave you A's and B's to get you out of there and just move them along. Because I
worked,
feel like
worked my ass off for A's.
in some really crappy schools, teachers will do that. Like they'll just pass a kid who does not deserve to pass just so they're like, the hell out of here. Get up to 9th grade, sucker.
Did you say that about college jocks and stuff, or high school jocks? Oh, well, he's going to stay with football. He doesn't even do his math homework on time. A.
Nah, I don't think teachers necessarily do that. I think they more would be inclined to do that with problem kids.
With problem, interesting.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, because think about it. Teachers are human, and they don't make a ton of money, which is kind of a shame because they're in the profession, the majority of them, for the right reasons, altruistic reasons. They actually want to teach the youth. It isn't just a job for them. We know many teachers who are very passionate about their vocation, deserve to get paid more, and et cetera.
Betsy.
But if you're a teacher who had a completely bad year, maybe you're like an English teacher who is only teaching middle school English to pay some bills until your novel sells, right? So you don't give two hoots about these kids. And you got this one kid who's a pain in your ass all 7th grade, and you're like, this kid failed. He didn't do his homework. He was very disrespectful to me. He's a distraction in class. I had to send him to the principal's office 17 times this year. And he did not pass. He didn't even do his final. He never did his homework. Do I really want to fail him and get him for round 2 next year? Or do I just be like, D. All right. See you in 8th grade there, Tubby.
You gotta have more faith in your teachers that they don't do that. I mean, that could be. Could you say that's criminal? I mean, is it against the rules? I don't think teachers can just give out grades like that. I don't know.
I think it's definitely frowned upon and probably against some sort of moral code. I don't think the teachers
Ethics.
have a Hippocratic oath, but like you said, ethics. But it happens. It happens. I mean,
you can argue that with well-off good schools versus bad ones. I mean,
exactly.
Have
Yeah, so like that chapter in Freakonomics where they found proof that teachers were cheating in standardized testing, changing some kids' answers, so their class got a higher overall average score, which put them in line for bonuses and etc. So, it's not always altruistic with the teachers.
That's a shame to hear that.
Yeah, kind of is. But as far as private goes, I mean, down the line when Mugsy's old enough. Well, first off, private elementary school is completely stupid. Because I mean, how can you really guzzy up counting to 10, learning some colors, learning 2 + 2 = 4, and I mean, why should I be paying $15,000 a year just so Mugsy can learn those same exact things? Maybe get name brand raisins in her snack rather than the store brand. What is the raisin brand? Sunkissed? Is that the raisins? Yeah. Lord, and Mugsy getting Sunkissed raisins instead of store brand. Whoop-de-doo. I don't care. But once you get into middle school, high school, then I could see some merit in it. But again, like I said, it is a bit of a crapshoot when it comes to You can have a great public school. You can have a really crappy private school that you pay 20 grand a year in tuition for, and they don't really get anything out of it.
I've been doing a lot of research on this private school thing because obviously, as you know, I have not. I went through public school my whole life. I had to talk to people who've done private school. My family who's done private school, I think they did it one on religious purposes. I guess a lot of, I think in the Minnesota, I think I read like 80% of
religious purposes.
Catholic
schools.
I mean Catholic, because I always thought all private schools were just simple schools, but I mean a lot of them, all those private schools have a religious base to them. Yep. So I mean, to each your own. If you want to get your kid in religion that young, I mean,
it is against my beliefs to not pay for school.
I know. I'm looking at prices though. Look at privateschoolsreview.com here. Elementary school average tuition about $4,000. I'm assuming that's a year. So times that K through, I think that's K through 6. So yeah, 4,000 times what's 7 years? That's $28,000.
Plus, you gotta expect prices to rise during that time with inflation.
Yeah, and like high school, it's looking like a minimum of about $10,000 a year. I have here, if you have a second, a quick list of the top 5 Twin City private schools.
Yep.
So so I'll list them off right here. I'm not sure if they're ranked or anything, but here we go. For number 5, it's Providence Academy out in Plymouth.
Yeah.
Tuition cost here for the upper school. It says upper school here. I'm assuming that's high school. $16,000 a year.
Is that a lot?
Yeah. So another private school, Breck.
Yep.
In Golden Valley.
Oh yeah.
Breck. Tuition anywhere from, looks like it ranges from $14,000 to $29,000 a year. Let's see, another one here at St. Louis Park, Benilde and St. Margaret's, 11,000 to 12,000. That's not too bad. Number 2 in St. Paul, right next to the Nook, Cretin-Durham Hall, 11,000 some tuition, and
that's it.
Number 1, yeah. Huh. I don't think that seems super low. They must have a lot of financial aid though. Number 1, Blake School in Hopkins, so not too far from Benson, 14,000 to 24,000. I mean, this is college. These are college prices, and like I've been to a couple of these websites. They have financial aid and scholarships. These are high schools and elementary schools. Yeah. Like, it blows my mind to get people in this.
No, it is kind of funny. When you're talking about Breck, thinking about a point that Howard Sinker, digital editor at the Star Tribune, has been on Purple for the Win a couple times. A point he brought up, because his kids all went to Breck, and one of the reasons for him doing it is that his son got a chance to play sports all year round, whereas if they went to some of the ginormous public schools, he wouldn't have that opportunity, since you'd probably have to specialize in one sport and then work your ass off to actually get playing time in that sport, because there's so many kids to choose from. Whereas these private schools have very small class size, and you can play some sports. Because it's like thinking, where am I gonna have a better chance to play some football, at Breck, which is a 2A school, or on the Eden Prairie 6A school? I don't know, one of the two. And another thought I had is that, like, when Mugsy's ready to enter middle school, high school, things like that. Like, Crystal and I, like, we intend to be well off, but not. I know that we're not going to be like the old money super rich, like you see in Minnetonka, Edina, Eden Prairie to some extent, where it's.
Why is that
why is that Orano? Where it's almost more like a mindset where, by then, knock on wood, we might have, a couple million in the bank and just be, very well off, but we won't have that, rich entitled mentality that people who had generations of wealth tend to have. I mean, that's not really talking out of school. It's pretty true. So now, if we send her, who grew up in the suburbs, working class family, who did pretty well for themselves, but doesn't come from like that rich old school money, and then we plop her down in a private school full of these rich elite snobs that their grandfather's grandfather's grandfather, made a ton of money, and now they're kind of living off the fat of the land. And that might not mesh well. I don't really, I really would not care for her hanging around with rich pricks named Aidens, Jadens, and Cadens.
I was hoping you'd bring up those names again.
Or no, rich white people have like the worst taste in names, all right. So why don't you talk? I'm gonna Google some of these names.
All right. Well, one thing I want to like end the stereotype of private schools, and I know you sound scared about if your kids ever go to this. I talked one of my former coworkers. She went to private school, and I'm like, oh, was it all hoity-toity and stuff? A lot of private school people. I mean, they're like public school people. Obviously, coming from public school, I like to think that I'm the real person, and private school are like fake, snooty upper class stuff. But because of things like financial aid and scholarships, I mean, a lot of I'm using air quotes here, normal kids, who would be public, they can fit into private and live, I think, pretty normal lives and go through the same dramas and the same fun that
this is not Gossip Girl, Nick. Life is not Gossip Girl.
Is. A little bit.
All right, so I googled rich white people names, right? And
okay,
here's some good ones. Roland.
Ooh, Roland.
Callahan.
That sounds like a last name.
Alistair.
Alistair, yeah.
Dermot.
Dylan McDermott.
Beckett. I don't like Beckett already. Let's see some other ones. Garrison. Hartford. Oh, Manfred.
Oh my gosh. So you hear little Mugsy go, Daddy, can I go over to Mansford's house? You'd be like, no.
But he's got his dad's Mercedes 500, or I don't know the numbers. I don't know what's good. See, a couple of others real quick. Gideon.
I never heard that one.
Gabriel.
Could be an angel, I guess. Whatever.
And Vernon.
Ninja Turtles.
You never met a poor Vernon.
I still don't think I've ever met a real one.
Now, I feel like once we're talking about colleges, kind of more open on that, because I was initially like state school all the way. You and I both went to a state school, had a great time, et cetera, et cetera. And academics, when I actually applied myself, were very good. I mean, we had great professors at Winona State. But also talking about Howard, I think all of his kids went to St. Thomas. I also think Di Murphy, my host on Andy Must Die, also went to St. Thomas. So they were talking about the virtues of private school, and that basically with grants and scholarships, it's roughly the same out-of-pocket cost as a state school, and maybe even less. Because I didn't know how heavily like private school is subsidized.
Oh yeah. I was learning a lot about that in my research as well.
Cause
I think people have their preferences about private schools. I mean, some people, it's just the money that they look like they're supposedly paying. I mean, it's you have smaller class sizes and just people might learn better that way. I mean, if it works for the kids.
I actually almost didn't go to Winona State. I almost went to St. Olaf.
I did not know that.
Yeah. But then I decided not to. I can't remember why. I don't know. Aren't you glad I didn't?
Oh yeah, met you my freshman year.
You'd have to.
We weren't friends. You're
the creepy kid from speech class with the lisp who's bad at poker.
I got a little bit better until you had the 4.
All right, now say down the line you get kids, you have the means. Would you consider sending them to private elementary, middle, high school?
All right. Well, I think for me, it goes on the factors of convenience. So I mean, if wherever I'm living in, if I'm living in Minnesota, if I'm in the suburbs, or if I'm in the city, I mean, if one school's closer than the other, if obviously if I'm having kids going up either with neighbors or whatever activities or whatever preschool they go to, I mean, I'll track out where their friends go, and I would like to keep my kids, if they make a lot of friends when they're younger. I want to keep them together. So I mean, there's a lot of factors in that. Obviously, if I had the means for private school and cost wasn't a factor, I definitely wouldn't pass it up. But I mean, my heart's always with public schools, and if we happen to be near one, if I would like a little bit prefer public school, but more like a 60-40, towards public. But obviously, as any parent, I want what's best for my child, and if a private school closer to me looked well enough to provide a better education, better social thing for my child, I would want what's best for my child. So
Yeah, you end up living in Como or like Dinkytown, and your kid's like, I want to go to De La Salle. You'd be like, it's too far. It's right down the street. Shut up, I'm your father.
It's on an island.
Yeah,
it's far away. Have you ever heard of do you have any thoughts on magnet schools, charter schools, or something I've just learned, a new term for a type of school? It's called Montessori schools.
Is a Montessori like quasi-religious?
A little bit,
Yeah.
but it's from the research I got from my cousin Becca.
Yep.
She was telling me a lot about how it's a very interesting school type. So kind of getting a little bit away from private public, but it's a weird way of which children kind of learn themselves, and like the teachers aren't really teaching.
Lord of the
more
Flies.
Like it's kids that are separated into like age groups, and it's like about older kids teaching younger kids, like the basics of life. And it was fascinating. I wish I sat down and took more notes about it, but it's I don't know, it's another factor, something to keep in mind.
Well, the magnet school idea concept intrigues me, because that's when you have like a larger student body, but you're kind of segregated off into like 30 or 40 student pods. They call it your magnet group, and then you kind of just come up and down, or well, not down, but up through the grades with your little group. And I think it is neat. It kind of fosters a sense of not complete wildness when you have like a 2,000 person high school class. So that quasi interests me, because as of right now, where we currently live, Mugsy would be going to Farmington High School, which I know is a bit bigger of a high school. But down the line, who knows, if we buy another house somewhere like that, I think that'll be even more important, like the whole school system, what they can offer us as it is now, since we'll have a couple more kids by then, hopefully.
It's just, I feel like we're really grateful in Minnesota to have so many options like this, and there's so many different choices, and it's incredible. I'm very curious though. I hope if you have listeners outside of Minnesota, they could tweet and ask us questions. Could give us a little insight of other states and how other school systems work in other.
We're really big in Compton, so they'd be like, "Man, school is on the street."
Oh, I hope we have so many Compton listeners. Please,
right.
I would love to learn about NWA.
Speaking of Compton, Straight Outta Compton, the movie coming out, and you should definitely bone up on the background material with buying all of NWA, all of Dr. Dre, all of Eazy-E, Ice Cube's, MC Ren's, all of their stuff on Amazon. And you can help us out too, dadmodpod.com, top left corner. Click on our Amazon link, bookmark that, and just buy all of your NWA rap albums through there. Or, all of your kids' public school supplies. Because you're going to private school and they give you all the stuff, and all the kids have an iPad and blah, blah, blah. So buy all of your kids' school supplies through our Amazon link, and you get the same great Amazon experience, and we get a little taste, a little something. Keep the lights on, keeping the bellies full, all that other good stuff. So buy school supplies and NWA albums and paraphernalia and T-shirts.
Yes, I agree.
There you go.
Definitely get all that stuff for your kids.
So we're out here for night. That was the public versus private school debate. I'm sure we'll get into it more as Mugsy's like PTA meetings just absolutely like destroy my soul, and I want to murder everyone in there.
I can't.
Except you can't say that nowadays.
You can say it the way it's the way you say it, by the way you bake those brownies, just a little overburnt to those other parents that you dislike.
Hey,
Have some brownies. Oh.
hey, Allison, your brownies tasted funny. Yeah, I baked them with bleach. I hate you all. All right. Yeah,
See you next week.
We're out of here. Say goodnight, Nick.
Good night, Nick.
The show's available on iTunes. Give us a subscribe, rate, review, a little 5-star action. Also on YouTube, Stitcher. That's it for this one. Follow us on Twitter at DadMoPod, me at Andy Carlson Show, Nick at Uncle Nick. Wait, no. Uncle Nick at Nickason. There you go. And the website is dadmodepod.com. Have you gained any Twitter followers?
I got a couple. I think I'm up to a little over 120, which is shocking.
How many of them are the TED bots?
The TED bots? I don't know what that is.
Oh, because for a while there, some Vikings bloggers and myself and people who tweet a lot about the Vikings had a ton of like the Ted Bears, from the movie.
Okay.
A bunch of parody accounts of that because we're always typing Teddy, Bridgewater.
Oh yeah. God, I don't know. Now I feel bad. Now I feel like I have less followers.
Well, you should follow him and then unfollow him. Just completely break Uncle Nick's heart.
Yes, please do that. My heart needs to be broken.
We're out of here. Be a man, be a father, go dad mode. We'll see you next time. And don't trust Allison's brownies at the PTA meeting. She's crazy.
Think the episode you just heard is worth $1? Well, send it our way. Visit dadmodepod.com/support to find out how. Be a man, be a father. Go dad mode. The music is created and produced by deeB. To hear more of his tracks, visit soundcloud.com/deeB.